Okay, let's interject some facts into the world and sort of counter some of the vegan nonsense that's out there. First, however, I'd like to continue with more success type stories. This one is a little bit different. This is a review of Mike, who is one of our coaches at MeetRx. Basically says, I had my first session with Mike today. He was extremely knowledgeable, explaining things to where I understood them. He could relate to my struggles, which was comforting. He gave me a plan to follow, keeping things simple. After our call, I feel hopeful and excited about life again. I highly recommend Mike as a coach. With his advice and guidance, I have no doubt that I will be able to achieve this sustainable health and lifestyle change. Studies indicate that getting support, no matter what you're trying to do, from a health standpoint, clearly makes a huge difference in long-term outcomes. And so our coaches at MeetRx are doing a wonderful job helping people transition not only to a carnivore lifestyle, but just to a generally healthier lifestyle. So under $20 per session is pretty darn cheap, guys. You won't find a better price out there. All right, let's look at a little quick success. All right, let's start debunking or at least adding some more knowledge to the discussion here. So one of the things you often hear from vegans saying is, the vast majority of soybeans are fed to animals. And that's actually true. That most of the what I should say is the soybean waste product, soy meal, is fed to animals. And a study out of the University of Michigan, or Michigan State rather, shows that while most of the soybean meal goes to feeding animals, nearly pretty much 100% of it goes to human consumption in the forms of two things. 88% of it is pressed into soybean oil for human consumption, and about 12% of it goes into biofuels, which is also human consumption. So 100% of the soybean is first turned into human food. The pigs and chickens largely feed the waste product, the soy meal. And so that is 100% for human consumption. And just like most of the things, this is what happens. We make stuff for human consumption. We have a waste product. It can either go in a landfill and rot and cause problems, or we can feed it to animals. And so we choose to do the latter. And so if we weren't making soybean for human consumption, there would be no soy meal. So that's actually the bottom line here. Now, if we look at soybean commodities prices, and we say, well, what's more lucrative? And so if we look at, and this is the data from this year, showing that as far as November, per metric ton of soybean oil, U.S. prices, you get $774 per soybean oil, whereas a soy meal only gets you $347. So it's about a 2.2%, it's about a 220% difference in price value. So soybean oil is more valuable than soy meal. Now, however, there is more soy meal than soybean oil from a soybean. But nonetheless, soybean oil is extremely valuable. It's in all of our processed food and so many human-use products. And so when we have these people that are talking about, well, they're deforesting the Amazon for soybean oils for the cattle, that's actually not true. They're planting soybean oils to first feed soybean oil and biodiesel to human. In fact, if we look at the Brazilian statistics, we'll see that 70% of Brazil's soy harvest is exported to Brazil. 30% is kept domestically. Of that 30%, only about 12% of it is actually turned into animal feed. And so that represents only about 3 to 4% of the Brazilian soy crop is actually going to feed their animals in Brazil. 96% of it does not go to feed their animals. And it's also interesting, when it comes to cows. Cows don't really do well with soy. Soy is a protein supplement. It's fed to pigs and chickens primarily. Cattle can only tolerate very, very small amounts of it in their food. And so the sort of statement that the rainforest is being cut down to feed soy to cattle is actually complete garbage. And when we actually look into that, that's not true. If anything, some of the soy meal, after it's 100% turned into human soybean oil, is then fed to pigs in China. That's where probably the majority of the soy meal goes to. But so don't let these guys, sort of get away with their garbage nonsense about soybeans, because 100% of soybean oil and soy goes to human consumption first. All right, if humans stop eating soybean oil, they wouldn't be planting it for animals. All right, Amazonian rainforest deforestation has actually decreased in recent years compared to what it was 20 years ago. In fact, the worldwide forest cover has actually grown by about 5% over the last 40 to 50 years. And so we're actually seeing reforestation. It's not that we should support deforestation of the Brazilian rainforest for any reason, whether it's for logging, or mining or planting coffee or some of these other crops. But that's the actual data there. All right, let's look at this little thing that some people are seeing here. This is a thing that the grain-free dog food could be harming your dog. And what we're seeing is that we see a lot of dead dogs, and they're dying of something called dilated cardiomyopathy. And what they're seeing is there's a common factor that they're finding these foods that have a high content of pea protein and lentils is causing this dilated cardiomyopathy. And now we are trying to replace meat with pea protein in humans. Do we know if that's going to cause problems down the road? Beyond Meat Burger is a pea protein product. That's interesting to think about. All right, finally, I put this little photo I made and put a little kind of a meme type thing of a lion eating a zebra. And I say, excuse me, Simba, but now they have things called B12 supplements. So what you're now doing is actually called murder. So the vegan argument, is we should not harm any animals. And, I would argue that their sort of definitions are very arbitrary. They just do it. They kind of draw some arbitrary ethical line. They decide that they want all of us to do. And so I would ask them, if we say that, we should not harm any animals, where do you draw the line on that? Do you draw the line on cows, sheep, pigs, and chickens? And do we say that, the other animals that are killed in harvesting food, they just don't count? Now the vegans will say, well, that's accidental, it's not intentional. Well, I would argue that pesticides are sprayed on crops, and the very nature of a pesticide is to intentionally kill pests. It's within its name, pesticide, kind of like homicide. You kill animals intentionally. This is done with intent. Farmers routinely shoot animals in the field to keep them from eating, the tomatoes and the fruit and the lettuce and so on. So that is intentional. These things are intentional. Now, you could say that all animals are created equal. We don't have any sentience definition. Are plants sentient? Do plants, do they sense environmental stimuli and react to that? Do they wish to die? Do they try not to die? It's debatable. What about a shellfish? What about a bug? If we say that we are not going to eat sea fish or seafood like lobster, shrimp, their level of intelligence is really, they're the same, lobsters are in the same family, arthropods as bugs. And so we kill bugs by the trillions to harvest crops, whether they're grown organically or not. You have to kill insects. You just have to do that. And so these insects, do they have sentience? Does that not count? Is that your arbitrary definition? What about malaria? Mosquitoes are the number one killer of humans, animal killer of humans on the planet. Malaria makes a lot of people sick. Do we say we're not going to spray for mosquitoes? We're not going to, people are getting West Nile virus and so on and so forth from mosquito-borne or mosquito-vectored, diseases? Are we not going to spray for that? Should we just let mosquitoes bite us? Or should we kill mosquitoes? And if you say, yeah, it's okay to kill mosquitoes because they're harming humans directly, well, then we're drawing an arbitrary line on disease, because there are many people out there, in fact, most people out there, need animal products to not have disease. And this is what we're seeing over and over again. And if I am better off with my health without, when I do eat animal products, do I not get the same, am I not afforded the same level of concern about my health as someone that doesn't want to get malaria? I mean, where do you guys draw the line? It is all arbitrary garbage. And so to put your ethical belief on someone is like trying to force somebody to be in your religion. Maybe I don't want to be a Buddhist. Maybe I don't want to be, some religion that doesn't comport with my ethics. So anyway, this is just an interesting discussion. The ethical argument, I think, is totally arbitrary. It's some line drawn by, these people that think that they're doing no harm. Look, and this is the other thing, regenerative agriculture, and I know people say, well, you can't do it worldwide. I would disagree with that. I think the articles that have sort of said you can't do that are older articles. They are based on data using standard techniques, saying that there's just not enough grass. Well, we know White Oak's pasture study just demonstrated that you can actually return carbon to the ground. You can actually run way more animals on the land, and that's not calculated in these regenerative agriculture discussions. So we certainly don't know that we can't feed people that way. And it's not that we're asking the whole world to eat a carnivore diet or a meat-heavy diet. We're saying that some people, many people, myself included, do better that way. Regenerative agriculture does not require pesticides. It does not require herbicides. It kills way less animals than any vegan diet. And that's just a fact. And so the ethical argument should be, eat a regeneratively raised ruminant animal. That's the end of the discussion. And you will do the least damage as far as animal suffering is concerned. And you will improve the environment the best. That's the best way you can do it. All right, guys, don't forget, World Carnivore Month starts in a couple days. Sign up. Go to meatrx.com to get registered. It's completely free. You can sign up for a month for free as well to use our services. We have a huge selection of research, medical research, health research. We have a huge selection of environmental research. We have hundreds and hundreds of articles supporting animals in the environment for agriculture, health of the environment. We have hundreds and hundreds of success stories. We have recipes. We have daily online support meetings, video. Get in there and ask your questions on video. We have a community forum. We have coaching, which is just, like I said, dirt cheap. I mean, we have great success with that. All right, guys, have a great day, and we'll talk to you on the next video. Take care now.